Greetings and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Nerissa and I am a mom, a wife. I have got 3 children and one of my children is on the autism spectrum. He was also diagnosed with learning difficulties, Tourette syndrome, anxiety, ADHD, and challenging behaviors. So I do come here on YouTube and share my experiences, some of the things that I've learned over the years, the things that I've found to work for me in supporting my child and the other 2 children who are neurotypical, and also things that have helped me to manage my life as an individual and manage the mothering gig. You know, it's a very demanding task to mother, to be responsible for other little human beings. So I do come here and share the reason why I major on the conditions that my son has is those conditions has really shaped my perspective of life. Those conditions have really shaped the way I make decisions. Even the way I make day-to-day decisions is determined and affected by the fact that I have a child who have got additional needs. So in this video, I want to talk about something that I've been thinking about for a very long time, and I think this is the right time for me to talk about, because I think 1 or 2 people can also benefit from that conversation. And what I want to talk about today is scars and wounds. I want to talk about scars and wounds. I'm sure all of us at some point we have had to get wounds or scars. We've had to maybe get injured, and some of the scars are visible, some are not visible, and some are permanent. Some we grow up with them. And I also want to talk about the emotional wounds. Some of the wounds that we don't see when we look at a person. You cannot see that they are emotionally hurt, but you can then tell as you relate with them, as you observe more than just a first glance. You can then pick some of the wounds, you can pick some of the scars that this person should be having, some wounds that they are dealing with, knowingly or not knowingly. So that is the conversation I want to talk about today. And let's get into it without wasting much of our time. So the thing with wounds, some of them, they leave marks on our skin, on our parts of the body. Some of them, they don't leave marks. They heal quickly. You know, in science, they say a wound takes about maybe 21 days maximum, a scar, for the body to regenerate cells, and the skin is covered. And depending on how deep is the scar, scars and wounds take different time depending on the impact, on the degree of the scar. And some of them determine how we are going to relate with people after going through that scar. Some of them, they don't even determine how we are going to go through life or how we are going to relate with people. So because in the beginning of this video, I already said I'm going to be talking about the scars that I incurred myself. And the scar that I want to talk about first, the one that is very permanent, is the scar that I have on my knee. And that scar, I incurred it when I was less than a year of age. I was crawling. And at that point in time, something was happening in our family, and there was water boiling. That water tripped on the floor, and because I was crawling, I crawled on that water, and I had a 3rd-degree burn. Obviously went to the hospital, got admitted, and I was nursed. I'm told I stayed in the hospital for about 3 months while that wound was being nursed. And that wound, it used to bother me when I was young. Like, I think until I got to 10 years old, it never bothered me. And it's even my first time to talk about it today. But the reason why I'm referring to that scar, because I still have it, it's very big. The reason why I'm still referring to this scar is the oldest scar that I remember. besides the BCG one, that one. So that scar that I have on my knee, I have grown with it, and I've even made peace with it. I think by the time I got to age 10, I was not even bothered. I remember when I was a toddler playing with other children in the play areas, they would ask me, what happened to your knee? And sometimes I would forget, because when I was also younger, it was very bigger than it is now. So it was really noticeable. And the reason why it's not noticeable now is because obviously the tissue around my knee has grown, and I have now also yes, the tissue around my knee has grown. So the wound, the scar itself looks smaller. But if you can see, because I'm in my 40s now, and if a scar that I really suffered when I was less than a year old and is still that big, I think even at this point, it's still like my palm size. So that can tell you how big it was when I was younger. And this scar doesn't bother me at all. It's not painful. It's not, because obviously the wound was attended to properly, and it recovered. I have never had issues even with my knees because of that scar. Then the second scar that I incurred was when I started working after high school. Before I went to college, I went to this other place and I did temporary teaching. And while I was there, one of the days during break time as a teacher, I rushed to my house and wanted to make fries. And for some reason, the pan that I had put oil tripped and I bent myself. And this is the scar that I have. You can see here. So this is the scar that I have. And it's still visible. That then can tell you that this scar, because this happened about 15 years ago, more than 15 years ago. So if I still have a scar like this, it is also became smaller. Actually, it's 20 years ago. Yes, I just remembered now. It's 20 years ago when I had this scar. So it's still visible. That shows you the degree again of that scar at the time when it happened. Obviously, again, I got admitted, got attended to, and I've since recovered. I've even forgotten about it. I see it here and there when I'm looking at my hands, washing my hands. I see it. It does not bother me, and it's not painful at all. Then the other scar that I want to talk about is I have 3 children, as I've said in the beginning of this video. And out of the 3 children, the last 2 children, I gave birth to them via cesarean section. So I have scars of giving birth. Again, I did not, that was done very properly for me. I don't have any complications. I don't even have a reminder that I have a C-section, besides maybe just struggling to lose my belly fat, which for me, I don't even use it as an excuse that, oh, I had 2 cesarean sections. I know I can control my weight without looking at that kind of giving birth. So that is another wound, scar that I had, like a very big scar that I needed to get to the hospital for me to be attended properly. And I do have, these scars are permanent. They are part of my body, but they don't define who I am. They don't define, and I'm sure for all of the people that are going to be watching this video, some of you, it's going to be the first time to know that I have a wound on I have a scar on my knee. Some of you, it's going to be your first time to know that I've got 2 cesarean sections. Some of you, is going to be your first time to know that I've got a wound that I sustained 20 years ago, but which is still visible on my skin. And I just remembered, I actually have got the 4th one. The 4th one, this scar here, on my forehead, this one. I'm going to look for the correct name, for the English name of this. But in Shona, my Zimbabwean language, we call this mago. This, I don't know if it's insect. I think it's insect. So a day before, I went to, and that was 30 years ago. I remember very well. 30 years ago, one day I went into the tree and I wanted to get myself some mangoes. Where I come from in Berengwa, we have so much mangoes, we have so much orchards, and it's a place where orchard trees grow very well. So one of these days I went into a tree and I wanted to get myself mangoes. And these insects that I'm talking about, they thrive in being on those trees, especially. I think they love being in trees which are also very juicy or citrus, but mangoes are not citrus. So I went into a mango tree, harvesting some mangoes for me to take to school the following day, and boy oh boy, they feasted on me. I remember actually had to go to school the following day with my head swollen from that bite. So yes, that is the other fourth scar that I wanted to share with you, that is on my body, that does not determine. And most of you, if you have seen my photos, I don't even try to hide these scars because they are part of me. And I have embraced them. They don't really define who I am. They are just they just remind me of what happened when I looked at them, and they remind me that I survived. When I see my scar on my knee every day when I'm doing my personal care, when I look at when I'm applying lotions, when I'm bathing, I just remember that I had a very major burn when I was just before 1 year old. And those kind of burns that at that age, it could have taken my life. But here I am, I'm surviving. So it's just part of my life. They don't determine who I am, but they have taught me so much. Then I have also invisible injuries. Invisible injuries. These ones, about 10 years ago, I am a person who loves outdoor exercises. I love adventure. I love walking in the woods and all that. So 10 years ago, I joined the hiking club, and we used to go hike every month. And on this particular day, while we were hiking, I stepped on a boulder, on a big rock, and it rolled down with me in Table Mountain. And that's how I injured my ankle. I was attended, got help, got to the hospital, and I was attended to. There is no scar on the outside of my ankle, but that injury, I have actually learned that it's a permanent injury. There are things that I used to do that I cannot do now. I used to run. I remember I once joined marathon before that injury, but now I cannot do that. So that is an injury with no scar, but that has altered my life. Then I also have another injury on my knee. While I was exercising one of these days in the gym, again, that very same year that I had injury while hiking, when we were doing jumping jacks, when I was landing, I came and landed on the weight. The weight was just on my side, and I landed on the weight, and I rolled, injured my knee very badly. And that injury, there is no scar to show, to testify that I had that injury. But the internal injury that I sustained that time, it still reminds me when I'm kneeling down, that pain reminds me of that injury, but there's no scar. When I'm exercising, when I start jogging and I want to increase my speed or want to run or want to join a marathon, I'm reminded of my ankle injury. I'm reminded of my knee injury. So these now, they are now altering my life. No one sees them, but I feel them. And I remember the other day, my friend asking me, why do I put knee pads when I'm going to exercise? And I told her that it's because I had injuries before. So if I go and exercise without wearing those ones, I can't even exercise, even just to walk on the treadmill. I can't do that if I'm not guarding my knees with the shin pads that I'm supposed to use. So these are some of the invisible injuries that have got a permanent scar. It's not visible on the skin, but inside there, it's a reminder that at some point you got involved in something that injured you. And that's when I realize some of the wounds are not even, these are physical wounds. I'm sure inside the tissues there are wounded, but they are not visible. So I want to talk today about also the emotional wounds. Emotional wounds, you actually need that awareness to know that you are emotionally wounded. Sometimes you can be wounded and not realize. That's the only thing. With physical wounds, look, I could point that there is, with a physical scar, remember, I could show you that I have a scar here. I could show you that I have a scar here. I can show you my knee that I have a scar. And you can actually see, if I tell you that I've had that scar on my knee for more than 43 years, then you will see that if you see the size of the scar, it can tell you how big it was when I was younger. I want to talk about what hurts us. What hurts us, sometimes we notice it and sometimes we don't notice. And I also want us to talk about why sometimes we can know that we have a wound and still do nothing about it. I'm told when I got hit when I was less than a year, there was an emergency scenario in our house because I had to be rushed to the hospital. And even when I got to the hospital, I'm sure I was the preference. I was the most preferred person to be assisted because I was in danger. I could lose my life because of the degree of that wound that I had sustained. But what I've learned over the years is that sometimes we don't give the same sense of emergency to emotional wounds. We don't realize that we are hurt. Or sometimes we realize and we still don't take the emergency measures. We think, I will feel better after a couple of days. I'm now thinking, if I wasn't rushed to the hospital when I was less than a year old, maybe I could have lost my leg, I could have been amputated, or I could have died. Because I remember when I was asking as I was growing up, what exactly happened when the story was narrated, what was happening, what made that boiling water to be on the floor. I learned that if I was not rushed to the hospital with the urgency that I was rushed to the hospital with, I would have either lost my leg or even died. That is what could have happened. So when I look at that scar now, I look at that scar with a sense of gratitude of what could have been and where I am now. So yes, there was a time when I used to question a lot and I used to ask a lot of questions. Why, how, why would people let that happen? But now when I look back, it's a permanent reminder of what could have been worse for me. So let's get into emotional wounds. I want to talk about emotional wounds from a special needs mom perspective. The types of emotional wounds, there is so much types of emotional wounds, but I'm going to tackle maybe one or two in this video so that it doesn't get too long. I don't want it when my videos get too long. So the first type of emotional wound is the rejection wound. That is an emotional wound where you feel like people are not really accepting me. You feel abandoned. You feel excluded. You feel unloved, whether in childhood or even in adulthood. And the effect of this rejection is that you feel unworthy. You feel unloved and you feel no sense of belonging. For example, a parent ignoring your achievements, a partner leaving unexpectedly, or being excluded even from social groups. That rejection wound is very, very valid. The type of emotional wound that I want to talk about is the betrayal wound, which when trust is broken by someone close to you, you can have a betrayal wound. And you become very difficult to trust. You now can't trust people. And fear of being close to people, or even you become hypervigilant. For example, when people lie to you, or when they break their promises, when there's infidelity involved, or being misled at work or even at home, giving misleading information, that can cause a betrayal wound. Then the other type of emotional wound that I want to talk about is the neglect wound, where physical or emotional needs are not met, especially in childhood. A lot of us, we look back and feel like we were neglected when we were growing up, which can be true, and sometimes it's just the way we didn't understand life at that particular time. Now that you are older, you look back, you realize, actually, my parents did their best they could do with the circumstances that were given. Just like in my case, I used to think, why would they let me get bent? But now when I look back, yes, they let me get bent, but they did the best that they could do to make sure that the worst doesn't happen from that ban. Sometimes it's caused by when you feel like parents are too busy to notice, or teachers not supporting you, or just the emotional abandonment where no one really feels responsible for your upbringing. That can cause a neglect wound. And wound number 4, emotional wound number 4, is the abuse wounds, where physical or emotional or sexual or verbal abuse has occurred. And this can cause low self-esteem, anxiety, fear, hyper-awareness, where you just aware, expectant of the next episode of abuse, and difficulty in setting boundaries. An emotional wound, type of abuse wound, can cause you to struggle to set boundaries. An example is that if you have been bullied, or you have been exposed to domestic violence for a long, or you have been exposed to childhood abuse, you struggle with setting boundaries, with telling people, no, I don't like that, because you have never been confident to express how you feel, to tell people what you don't like and what you like. So people can do what they want with you, and you won't even say anything. Emotional wound number 5, type number 5, is caused by loss or grief. This can be caused by death, by divorce, by loss of a dream or identity. That can cause a loss or grief wound. And the effect is long-term sadness, emptiness, and fear of attachment. You start losing interest in being attached to people because of the loss that has happened before. And the type number 6 of emotional wound is the humiliation or shame wounds. These originate from being publicly or privately shamed, criticized, or ridiculed. And the effect, it makes you feel inferior. It makes you want to hide your true self. It makes you want to be very perfect. You become a victim of perfectionism. And also, you are always blaming yourself. That is a sign that you have been exposed to humiliation or shame wounds. Then number 7, the last emotional wound that I want to talk about, is the one that I am a victim of, and that has made me to do this video. Emotional wound number 7 is overwhelm and caregiver wounds. And these wounds, they can be physical wounds. I actually, as I'm doing this video, I actually have got wounds from being a caregiver. If you can see here, this is a scar. And yeah, this is a scar here. So one of these days when my son was dysregulated, he got upset while we were seated on the dining table, and he lifted a chair and knocked me across while we were seated on the dining table having dinner. So these are some of the wounds that we incur as caregivers. We incur overwhelm, we incur caregiver wounds. These originate from chronic stress, over responsibility, or caring for others at the expense of yourself. And the effect of this overwhelm, these wounds, is that emotional exhaustion, resentment, guilt, and loss of identity. For example, being a parent of a child with additional needs, like myself, long-term caregiving without getting support, it can give you overwhelm wounds. It can give you those emotional wounds that are overwhelming. You don't have somebody to give you the support. That can make you grow into a resentment person. You are always emotionally exhausted. There is no time to take a break. There is no, people always say, how do I recover from burnout? But sometimes you don't even have resources or the opportunity to have that break. I totally understand. And you can end up losing your identity completely. So I want to talk to one parent out there who is saying, I don't even know how I can get out of this situation. I want you to know that the first thing that you need to do is identify what type of wound are you dealing with. Is it all the wounds that I've listed? Is it all the 7 wounds that you are nursing? And also, after identifying the type of the emotional wound that you are dealing with, then sit down. Be intentional about it. I've always applauded people. I've always clapped the hands for people for recognizing that they are burning out. Because some people burn out and don't even realize that they are burning out. Some people burn out and don't even realize that they are just going on a roller coaster. They are not pausing. They are not taking deep breaths. They are just cruising. They don't realize. So the fact that you can sit down and recognize and realize that I have a wound, it means you can make again another extra couple of minutes to realize what type of wound have I just suffered and how best can I nurse this wound. How best overwhelm. I want to encourage parents, caregivers, treat burnout as a 3rd-degree burn. Treat it as a 3rd-degree burn. Treat it with emergency. Treat it in a way that you are getting help. Cry for help. If it means you need to cry, cry for help. There is no medal for strong people. One of these days, I was telling one of my daughters that strong is a scam. She actually sent me a message, and when she sent me a message, I was actually in the hospital because I had gone there and I had been hurt by my son. And she was complimenting me, you are so strong. I said, there's nothing like strong. Strong is a scam. Don't play strong. Don't play strong. Rather be vulnerable and get help. Know when you need to take a break and take that break. I know sometimes support systems does not allow us to even take a break. But you know what? If you don't take a break, your body is going to take a break. And that break will be permanent. Your body is going to eventually knock down and you might not recover if the body chooses for you when to rest. Do not wait for your body to decide when to rest. Make it very intentional to rest, to take breaks, Sometimes it's okay to have the house not cleaned. Sometimes it's okay to skip important things. Especially if there are other people who can do those things. It's okay to not to be available for other things. And you know what? Some of these things that you are prioritizing, even if you are not there, those programs will not be paused. They will go ahead. That is what shows you that the world will not stop running because you have stopped. The world will continue running even in your absence. So some of the programs that you are tying yourself to, not resting, saying, I have to go there because I'm in charge of this program. I have to be here because I'm the admin. I have to be here. Even when you are not there, those systems will continue running. So choose your battles. Choose things that you can take breaks from. And please do take breaks. Because emotional wounds, if not treated, just like even a physical wound, if it's not treated, you might need to get amputated. Like in my case, when I had a bent on the knee when I was young, there were prospects of me being amputated. But what I'm saying is the same with our emotional well-being. We have to have that sense of agency. We have to say, okay, this is a scar. I can live with it. It doesn't really define me. But the thing with emotional wounds, they define us. You cannot be emotionally hurt and be happy at the same time. It cannot. So you have systems, your own inbuilt system. You have your non-negotiables when it comes to looking after your mental health. You have your non-negotiables. You have things that you say this, whether the sun rises on opposite direction and sets on the wrong side. These are non-negotiables for me. You have your non-negotiables to look after your health. Because when you have non-negotiables, you are going to be a pleasant person to be around. I talked about this from experience. You know, one sign that you have got emotional wounds is the way you easily get triggered, the way you easily get upset. That is a huge sign that you have got emotional wounds that have not been attended to. You easily get triggered. If you are a fellow special needs parent like me, any topic, any question, any disagreement that comes around special needs, you are blazing, you are fighting, you are even bleeding on people who don't know what you are going through. Some of the people we are bleeding on, they are actually trying to understand what we are going through. I remember some years ago, before I worked on my own emotional wounds, I used to get triggered by just people staring at me. I would get triggered. Why are they staring at me? Why are they staring at my child? Don't they know that there's autism? No, girl. No, mommy. Not everyone knows about autism. It's okay for people to stare at you. There's nothing wrong with people staring at you, because that's how they also get to understand what is happening. So you want, when you walk into a room, people look aside because you don't want people to look and observe what is happening with you or with your child. Sometimes it can be a sign that there's some wounds that you are neglecting, that you are not attending to. Another sign that you have unnursed wounds, unnursed emotional wounds, is when what you expect people to do for you, you are not doing it for yourself. You expect people to give you a break, but you are not giving yourself a break. You expect people to make you a priority, but are you making yourself a priority? Are you making yourself the most important person to you? How do we know that? How do we know that you are making yourself the most important person? Do you keep your promise to yourself? Do you keep your word to yourself? If you say, I'm going to wake up, I'm going to do these non-negotiables that you want to have in place, how many days do you stick to that before you go back again to your old habits, to a day with no routine, to a day with no targets, no goals, nothing, just waiting for time to pass by? Do you keep your own deadlines to say, I want to do this by this time? Do you keep them? But you want people to keep their promise. You want people to make you a priority. Do you look after yourself? Do you look after your body? We are not talking of resources. Do you take care of yourself with the resources that you have? With the support system that you have, do you prioritize yourself? And now you get triggered when other people don't make you a priority. You get triggered when people don't notice you. You get triggered when people don't understand you. Do you understand yourself? Can you name the emotional wounds that you have suffered before or currently? Can you name them? And if you can't name them, why? Because you do look wounded. You do sound wounded. Some wounds don't want to be covered. They will develop pus. They will develop infection. I remember when I gave birth to my daughter, and I had a cesarean section. That was even 18 months after I had another cesarean section for my son. And the nurses emphasized the importance of looking after that wound. Because if you don't look after it, it's going to have infection. Do you look after your wounds? And how long does it take for you to realize you have been emotionally hurt? These are the questions I want to leave with you. Are you self-aware of your mental state? Do you know when you are upset? And do you know what is upset you? Do you know when you are hurt? And do you know what has hurt you? Or you actually need other people to come to you and say, you look upset. What's wrong with you? When you attend to your emotional wounds, your self-awareness also improves. You become more aware of yourself. You become more aware of you. You become more in touch of yourself. I know there's this language to say what is happening in the streets. I was telling one of my friends the other day that if there are streets that you should stay updated more than any other street, is the street called self. That is the street that you must stay more updated than any other street. Because this street called self, if you lose touch with it, everything else won't even make sense. Yes, you can stay updated in what is happening in the streets, but if you lose in touch of what is happening in your mental state, then you are being updated for wrong reasons. If there is a business that you must mind, you must pursue, you must stay in touch with, it's your own business. Mind your own business. Mind your own mental health. Look after yourself. Even when you get into a plane, you are told about the safety jackets or how to use it and everything. What I like about the air hostess, the instructions in the plane, they will tell you, please, first make sure you have put on yours before you assist the next person, whether it's your child, whether it's your spouse, that's the most important person. First, help yourself. Before you want to understand other people's emotions, understand yourself, gal. Understand yourself. You are the most important person that you must understand. You are going to be with you for the rest of your life. These other people come and go, but you are stuck with yourself for the rest of your life. Understand yourself. So girl, from girl to girl, from a fellow special needs mom to another, from a fellow special needs parent to another, know your wounds. Are they physical? Are they visible? Are they emotional? What type of the wound is it? And to what degree has that wound hurt you? Because girl, you are too smart to be bleeding on people who didn't hurt you. You are too smart. And the caregiving responsibility that you have to look after your little one, you need to do that from a healed perspective. You need to execute your caregiving tasks to your little one, to your loved one, from a healed aura. You need a healed energy. Some of the things that trigger you, they are not triggers at all. They are just indications of what wounds you need to attend to from within. As I'm recording this video, this wound that I have here is very fresh. Even when I was applying makeup, I knew I'm actually irritating it because I don't have even to be putting anything there. So when you are aware of your wounds, you know how to handle them. You know what to avoid. Some wounds need some plastering. Some wounds need some ointment. Some wounds requires to be dressed every day. Know your wounds and treat them accordingly so that you won't be moving around expecting people to understand you because they were not there when you were hurt. And most of the people that you're bleeding on, they are not the ones who hurt you. They are not even responsible for that wound. So, girl, you owe it to yourself to heal. You owe it to yourself. Because moving around with those wounds, with those scars while they are hurting you, it can actually chase away people from you. It can chase away the support systems from you. It can chase away the people that were going to be helping you on this caregiving journey. I wish you well. And I want to tell you that you got this. Thank you very much for watching. I know this has been one long video. I think this is my longest video that I've done, sit and talk, but I think it was very well worth it. Please do let me know in the comment section what you resonated with, what you have learned, and what systems have you developed to make sure that your healing is guaranteed. Because no one is coming to nurse that wound. No one is coming to dress that wound. So you are responsible, girl. You are responsible, fellow parent. I wish you well, and I hope to see you soon, very soon, in the next video. And before I go, I want to show you my son's book. My son wrote a book. My eldest son wrote a book which is called Carer by Default. And it's an autism awareness book which talks about the journey of being a sibling to an autistic sibling. I would love you to have a copy. Let me know in the comment section if you want it, and I will definitely make sure it finds you where you are. Until next time, keep